thank you all for coming to do a farewell conversation for our friend Lucy Topilian. We're glad that you're all here, and I'm excited. I was called to carry on this honor of conversing with a good friend of mine, and hopefully in few questions we will bring out good memory and benefits and challenges that Lucy carried on the last few decades in Kuwait. And I have a notebook here to pass. So if you want to write her anything or feelings, what she contributed or inspired you during her years of Kuwait, we'll be glad to take it. Okay. We chatted, Joaquim, Yasmina, and Lucy and I about raising some few good questions in this conversation, and I edited them a little bit and merged them. So be patient with us and how we can take things out of the journey of Lucy. My first question would be, Lucy, how did you start your journey in art? What was the goals or the ambitions you had when you embarked on this journey in Kuwait?
Yeah. When I started, it was in the 60s at the school, at the university, where I took Art Appreciation 101 and Art History 101. I mean, this is my background in art. But that kind of took me to love art and to work in art. In Lebanon, I used to work in a very small gallery held by a benevolent union, Armenian General Benevolent Union, where I volunteered for twice a week for 3 hours. Actually, I was surprised. I mean, there I met Hussein, the famous Indian artist who was exhibiting. And kind of, I didn't know what to do with him because he used to sit on the floor. And as I was over there, I couldn't sit behind a desk, so I would go and sit next to him in the floor, and he will tell me all about his art. Now, if I tell you that I understood something or anything, I mean, I will be fooling you. I just could not understand what he was talking about and what his art was, because at school, what we were learning, you know, which is, you know, how do you describe art? How do you, let's say, appraise art or measure art? You know, it is absolutely, it has zero relevance today. I mean, before we had to look at the size, at the composition, at the color, at this, at the other, and accordingly appraise the art and the artists and what they have done. But anyway, so that was the interest, and through that, every time there was an exhibition, I will go over there. Fortunately, we had some very good Armenian artists like Giragosyan, Harer, Asadur, Gulveng, etc. So we used to go to their exhibitions. Of course, in the 70s, the war broke out, and we all had to go somewhere, and of course, I came to Kuwait, and I'm grateful to the people who brought me over here, because it really opened another dimension, another horizon for me. I did not work in art. However, I went to Sultan Gallery, you know, to see the art that they were showing, and there I developed the eye, because as I mentioned to you, all I knew it was about the Armenians. I didn't know much about Arab art. And there I started learning about the big Arab names, the stars of the Arab world. Then came the invasion. At that time, I was working in a computer company, and I was managing, let's say, at the end, Apple computer. So later on, when we came back from the invasion, I found out that there was no more art gallery left. And I said, let me go into it, because my hair was getting gray, and I had about 47 computer science guys coming to me every morning saying, Lucy, did you hear about this? Lucy, did you hear about that? Do you know about HTML and this and the other? I thought I didn't have the capacity to learn all these new things. I will go into art. It did not happen just like that. In the meantime, a very good friend who had an art consultancy company, Mrs. Dayligi, who would come to Kuwait and show her art and do projects, etc. Yeah? And when she was here, I will start helping her. And she really encouraged me and pushed me to be able to start working in art. I used to live in the Behani compound, which is right now where the Dar Al-Funoon is, but I used to live in the back. And in 1993, you know, we started with Sheikh Hassan Saad, an art gallery, and we wanted to do it into a contemporary art gallery rather than the regular that we used to see with the fountains and the flowers and, you know, other work. We wanted to introduce all the modern. And I'm very happy to say that in the last 25 years, I have had wonderful memories. We have done lots of work. We have worked with all the major artists of the Middle East. Not all, sorry, most of the major artists in the Middle East. We have introduced younger artists to Kuwait. We have also launched young Kuwaiti artists into the art market. And that, I'm very proud of it.
Good. And this brings us automatically with your talk to how did you balance the realities of the market, of sustaining yourself in a market where the culture has a lot of restrictions and conservatism about art,
yeah,
and the constant inspection and what have you?
Anyhow, what I would say, and I will say it candidly, I self-censored, you know, the artwork that I was bringing. I made my own censorship of what I could bring so that we could be, I mean, we could show art without offending anybody. And this, I'm sure you all know what they are. It is, we can't show nudity, any sexual connotations, any figurative, not very religious, not very political. But then we also found a way, you know, going around it. And I'm happy to say that we were able to, with all the restrictions, we were able to get work in and to show work in. And some of them were quite political. Some others were kind of criticizing internationally, not only the Arab world, internationally all the bigotry that is going on in the world, some others against war, some others kind of against abuse. And we were, you know, we were able to show all these things without, you know, without having to any problems with the authorities. Another, you know, point, more than the norms, it was the regulations that, you know, hurt us more. Not hurt us, but made us very anxious. Is importing art. You know, an artist works alone in his studio. He produces 20, 30 works, and he sends it. Over here, the customs, they require a certificate of origin stamped by the Chamber of Commerce. I have gone to the customs authorities about 20, I mean, every time I had the problem, you know, to go and explain that these people are not mass producers. They're not factories. They are not commercial companies, you know, to be able to have a membership at the Chamber of Commerce. They would not understand. So all these years, I've been paying fines to bring in artwork without certificate of origin. I'm sure, Farida, you know all about it. Yeah.
I would be digging further with the question. Usually, galleries exist in contexts where there is art schools. Art schools produce professors, students, professional critics, writing columnists in major newspapers. There is appraisals, formal houses of appraisal. Yeah. I admire the three art galleries that started in Kuwait, starting with Sultan Gallery and you and Bushehri, that you came with an ambition and vision that there is not whatsoever that exists. And what kept you going? What kept you, because you really substitute all these institutions, the universities and the students and the critics and the columnists, and you become a miniature small institution that believes in this kind of a cause. And you keep driven and tenacious about continuing this subject. You have few fans that help you, buyers and people who acquire, but that's not enough. There is a whole infrastructure of lifestyle that sustains that, usually in different contexts.
Yes. Well, it is unfortunate that there is no art academy, but some of the universities, the American University of Kuwait has got their art sections. They have excellent professors. But in the beginning, there were a number of art critics that were kicked out of Kuwait, especially the guy of the Qabas, because he did not write beautiful articles about what was going on in Kuwait. I mean, he had the critical eye to see whether an artwork was good or passable or mediocre or excellent. I mean, and so, there were no art critics. And there is also the other side of it. In the beginning, when I started, I always had the openings under the auspices or the patronage or the aegis of some personalities in Kuwait. And there were lots of people in the gallery, many people came. At the end, I realized that, it was becoming more of a social event, which I like it to be. But everybody was discussing everything without looking at the artwork all around. Or, if somebody was from the authorities, everybody who had heard it, they will come to meet her or to meet him or discuss problems with them, etc. So I decided to stop these openings under the auspices and everything. And I lost all the journalists. In the beginning, they would come and say,
a person to cut the...
شو بيقولوا بالعربي؟
قص الشريط.
No, to cut the ribbon.
قص الشريط,
قص الشريف, okay. So, sharit. And so, slowly, the qas sharit, the journalists in the beginning who asked me the questions, they didn't come the next time, and then it became, phone calls, في قص sharit, no ما في قص sharit. And right now, I have 0 journalists in the gallery. No journalists. Nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about the art. Now, if you ask me, what drives you, you also have to realize that it's also a business. It is a livelihood that I had to work very, very, very hard in order to make the gallery first successful with the artists that I brought, with the activities that we did, and everything. But then on the other hand, the gallery had to sustain itself. So that was the driving force to keep the gallery going from year to year to year to year. And thank God, 25 years.
Now the question, have you achieved most of your goals or ambitions that you, that you imagined?
All right. I think I have achieved my goals as long as I can put it in the context of this small gallery. But when I started, I was extremely ambitious. I really wanted to do things. And by the year 2001, when Kuwait was the cultural capital of the Arab world, so 1 year before, I mean, the activities started, and you and I, we were called, you know, to go in and propose something to make it really big, to make big noise, etc., etc. And so at that time, I had curators who worked with Christo. You know, the Christo, the guy who wraps buildings, who covers the rivers, the trees, and everything. And so, who knew Christo? And so I said, oh, please, please, you know, Kuwait wants to do something really big, you know, for the 2001 10-year anniversary, etc. And we have the towers, and these towers were the symbol of freedom of Kuwait. You know, let's do something. So at that time, the consultant was Yahya Swaylim, and I went to, actually Yahya first came to us, and then I went and had meetings with people, and then I proposed to wrap the towers. And somehow they agreed, they said yes, and I explained to them that, okay, it's a symbol of freedom, it became the symbol of freedom. And then on the other hand, Christo does everything free of charge. However, I mean, his art is free of charge. However, he gets his money out of Discovery Channel, CNN, France 24, all the art things, and they give him his part. But what we needed from Kuwait was to pay for the construction, for the work, for the materials, and all the people who were going to be involved. And then he wanted to come to Kuwait. Okay, these are my big... He wanted to come to Kuwait. I could not get the National Council to pay for his ticket before they knew how much the wrapping material was going to cost. And then I kept on for 6 months trying, going, explaining and everything. And then, unfortunately, I just stopped. I was hitting all kinds of walls. So I have had also failures and also big disappointments that, you know, that wouldn't have been Dar Al-Funoon. I wouldn't have cared if the name of Dar Al-Funoon was ever even mentioned. But I thought that would have been very nice for Kuwait, you know. And then I even explained to them that 50 years from year 2001, when the younger children, you know, will look into the history of art in Kuwait, and we'll see that such an important artist who had made a huge international name to come to Kuwait, and that the Kuwaitis were ready to accept such art, it would have been a big pride for them. I failed. I couldn't. So that's my disappointment.
I'm gonna go after some of the small successes that you and Sultan Gallery and Bouchehri did, and some of our mentors or patrons in Kuwait that nurtured.
Yes.
I was observing the whole pattern or the trends of art, because I'm a visitor of art galleries and what have you. And I want to reflect with you and our audience on the times when you were bringing famous artists from a global level or regional, and then you started shifting, all of you, the three, to more regional and local, young and undiscovered. And that was really a shift. That was a really shift. All three galleries started bringing more of the youth. And then you started inviting designers, students in College of Architecture and Arts and design schools. You started hosting a lot of other events that I started seeing, wow, they're really paralleling with the institution of nurturing a different life of art in Kuwait. It was very obvious.
Yeah.
Could you reflect and see how rewarding that was for you in this period?
I mean, what was most rewarding for me is to be able to give back, you know, whether it is to the society or to charities by doing activities where, I mean, the recipients were not, the recipient was not Dar Al-Funoon, but, you know, the others. That was the most rewarding part. But the shift that you are talking about is, or in the beginning, it was the major artists that I brought. But then I wanted to bring something also for the younger generation who could afford, or the expatriates who can also afford. All right, the big artists in the beginning were not that expensive. I mean, you know, but again, you know, it wasn't affordable. Then I went to affordable art, where we could show works by good artists, but in limited editions, so that people could afford buying from major artists works that were limited edition. And then I started meeting young Kuwaiti artists or young Arab artists who were living in Kuwait. And I wanted to give them the platform, you know, for them to work and to start. And I'm very happy to say that some of the artists are very well known right now, like Ghada Al-Kandari, Al-Koukh, Abdallah Al-Utaybi, and, you know, the Kuwaiti names. And also some young names from of Arab artists or artists who lived in Kuwait. So, you know, that was the shift. And then there is a long dead season in the summers, or from the start of the summer until September. I couldn't keep the gallery empty. So that's why I started encouraging anybody who wants to come and do a pop art or sell their items, introduce products, etc., etc. So that was also another way of looking at it, so that I could keep the gallery full, you know, with the artists, or with any design or fashion or whatever, artisanal, handcrafts.
Quite remarkable. That brings us to my last question, and I hope if anybody later on wants to make any comments. How do you see the role of galleries in the near future and far future within the dynamics of art and the information shift of our century? How do you see the future of art galleries?
Look, without being negative, unfortunately, the role of the art galleries, you know, has been taken away from them with the art fairs, the auction houses, the all these new trends of art festivals that are happening all over the world. And then, I mean, I don't blame, let's say, a Kuwaiti patron, you know, going and buying in Dubai or in Abu Dhabi, because in Kuwait we are 5 galleries, and perhaps all 5 of them are not for their taste or their budget and everything. So when they go to an art fair, there are 47, 67 huge spaces of galleries that they can fill their eyes and they can buy. And so, I mean, I don't know, perhaps you can, you know, say that, you know, unfortunately, you know, the galleries do not have that big role anymore. Perhaps of finding artists and, you know, taking them, you know, to another level. But, you know, as galleries, you know, I'm sad to say that we're losing our role in the art market.
We see the last 10 years or more a phenomena of a lot of cultural hubs popping up in our
Yes.
city, and they overlap a little bit of culture and art expressions, not necessarily paintings, but they do so. It looks like there is a new generation, like a whole change of roles,
yes, I mean,
change
it's
of
changing.
context.
It's changing. It's changing. It's developing into another
As
another
art changes
form.
and evolves,
Yeah,
so
it
is the whole
evolving.
infrastructure of it that changing with it, definitely. I think, yeah. We're coming to, and unless somebody wants to make a question or a comment, will be great.
With regard to the future, one of the advantages of Dar Al-Funoon is the location. Will that help it to survive the post-Lucy era?
You mean the Behbahani compound, the location?
Yes, yes.
I think the location had a romantic, look into it that, people loved coming into a courtyard house and everything. It lended to all kinds of exhibitions. However, with the modern art, where artists are doing 3 meter, 4 meters work, unfortunately, the gallery doesn't have the space for people to take a step back and to look at these, big artworks. The space of the space is beautiful. It's lovely, and whether you put very avant-garde artwork or whether you put traditional work, it just lends itself. The gallery kind of, evolves with whatever we're showing, and it looks beautiful. And sometimes it is very, very difficult to be able to, place the artwork the way the artist wants. It's because we don't have the space to go back.
Well, will it continue? Have you trained enough people to take over?
Yes, there are a few trainees, but my partner and her nieces, will take it over. They will continue. Perhaps they will bring another, a little breeze of fresh air, and transform it a little bit, include more art forms. There is, the basics, will be there, for them to continue.
Okay. What about Lucy's future in Yerevan?
Ah.
And you're taking Pasha with you and the cat?
They are the first ones to go. Yeah. What I'm looking at is Armenians are very good with their hands. They really know how to work the wood, the textiles, the metals, the stones, and I would rather go to handicrafts more than, let's say, major art, because Armenia is not a very opulent country. It is quite a poor country. And, taking my Arab artists over there, it will be just to go and show. And I don't know if any galleries will accept just the show unless I do it with the museums and everything. But then I will go a little bit smaller and I will try to work the handicrafts.
Thank you, Lucy, for the lovely story. I'm interested to know the type of people who used to buy art before and how it evolved through time, because I know historically lots of people as patrons would pay a lot of money for art, but nowadays with the young generation coming in, alongside with the young artists, to what extent do you think they are willing to pay for art?
Yeah, that is why we made the shift to go into affordable art. But you see, with the affordable art, it didn't mean that they were not buying good art, but it was more affordable, smaller, very good artists, young innovators, and they were able. Of course, the patrons of art, I mean, in any country, if you go, every gallery has got about 4 or 5 collectors. So the patrons of art, okay, especially in Kuwait, or even in New York, I mean, they are about, let's say in New York, they are, I don't know how many millions, and they have 100 patrons, and in Kuwait, I can say that, I did have, good patrons who were always there, and any of the artists, major or younger artists, that interested them, they were ready, they are ready to kind of support the art that we showed.
Yeah. So when you say affordable art, so we're talking about what kind of range of amount?
Between 100 and 500 KDs.
Okay. Cool.
Thank you very much for this evening, Lucy, and it's a pity to see you go, of course, but it comes a day when that will happen. And I'm glad to hear that you will continue doing something in art. We had the pleasure of working together on a few projects, besides being friends and buying art and all that.
Yeah.
So how do you feel? How do you feel in this change? I mean, when you're leaving Kuwait after so many years. Are you coming back at any time just for visit?
Of course, I will visit. It is very difficult. This is the country where I have lived longest, in my life. And I mean, we all had very good days, sorrowful days, fearful days, hopeful days. I mean, we lived the life of Kuwait with its ups and downs. And thank God we were able all, to stand up and to continue again, where we had left. It is very difficult. It is, I mean, I feel that I lived somehow the contemporary history of Kuwait. I mean, Kuwait is a country where, for expats, like us, we didn't have any family, but in Kuwait we found our new family, and it was wonderful to feel that we were part of families, and they will accommodate us, they will help us, they will invite us, they will feed us, they will, in every way, help us. I mean, Kuwait has been a wonderful, wonderful experience, especially coming out of Lebanon and the war in Lebanon. It will be, I will miss Kuwait. Actually, when I was doing my bank card, one of the secret questions that the banker asked me, what is the country that you want to go? Or what is the country that you like more? And I looked, 43 years it has been Kuwait. So I told him Kuwait. He was surprised. He said, Kuwait, you don't want to go to France? What is your favorite country? I said, no, I'm telling you the reality. He said, everybody says something else. Kuwait. And it was easy to remember.
Lucy, thank you for your time today. I don't know if you can see me, it's Cecile. But it's very sad, especially for us artists, to see more galleries close down. We have very few venues here in Kuwait now to exhibit. And I feel like it's very important for us to share, through your experience, what you think are the challenges that we are all facing currently. You mentioned an obstacle, which was the National Council when it came to trying to get your ideas across. What institutions would you say we need to work to improve here in Kuwait?
I'm very happy to say that there are a big number of young galleries opening up. And I'm sure they are in their infant, let's say, stages. And they will develop, and they will be able to develop, you know, with your help of going and giving them new ideas, trying to, you know, work with them to do exhibitions or create events and everything. And Dar Al-Funoon will always be there for you. I mean, the gallery will continue, and I'm sure they would like to see the young artists coming in. But there are, I mean, you know, I can't say that, you know, all the galleries, many galleries opened. And I'm sure, you know, kind of you will also help them achieve, you know, the levels that you would like to achieve.
So the gallery is still continuing?
Yes, the gallery will continue.
Okay, I misunderstood.
Yeah.
Hello, Lucy, this is Thuraya, I am here.
Hi, Thuraya.
Hi. I just want to say that today, from a newspaper, I know about this lecture. Then I called my friend Sheikh Nafisi, and she told me that it is a farewell, that you are leaving Kuwait. This was a big shock for me. I can't imagine Kuwait without Lucy.
Oh,
yes.
Don't do that.
Because you are not only gallerist and you are good in business and marketing, you also have a big white heart. It have a place for everyone. And you done a lot of charity exhibition, maybe a lot they don't know about it. No benefit for you, it was just the money go for children, for heart disease, for cancer, for different things. Also, you give us a lovely chance all this year to see a beautiful art coming from all over the world. It costs you a lot to bring them, too much hustle, a lot of hustle with customs, to get them visa, and they can't get visa to come, the artists. And you put a lot of your health and your energy in it, just to bring it in a plate of gold for us. And we visit your place, we was happy to see you and to learn from the other artists and to get knowledge. I don't want to ask you any question, I just want to tell you big thank you for all this year. And definitely I will do exhibition in Yerevan, definitely, I promise you.
It will be great. Thank you, Suraya. I'm really touched, very touched. It means a lot to me that you say all these wonderful things. And I will have to mention that we had organized an exhibition of Suraya's works one year, in 2008. And we had a fire at the gallery, and we had to cancel. Fareed was calling me, not Fareeda, Suraya, was calling me to say, I'm bringing my artwork. I said, Suraya, you cannot, the gallery is burning. She came running. I mean, I was over there completely dazed, didn't know what to do. And she was over there crying and crying. So I had to console her. But we got back. As I said, I mean, they were difficult days, tough days, but we were always able to come back.
Hi, Lucy. This is Haifa. I just wanted to thank you for all the beauty you've brought into our lives, the beautiful artwork that you allowed us to have. And I was shocked to hear the news that you're leaving, and I'm very sad as well. And I find it hard to believe that anybody can fill in your footsteps, because your vision is, I mean, unique. And, you know, thank you so much for everything.
You know, thank you, Haifa. I mean, Haifa has been a big support. You know, to the gallery, she has always, every time I needed Saudi artists, I will always go to Haifa and let me say Amira Haifa Ben Saud. So people know, because they were all wondering who's Haifa. And she will help me out, and she will send me all the information and also what she feels about it. I have to thank you for all your help as well. And I have to thank you all. One more question.
Lucy, it's been such a pleasure knowing you over these years, and I just wanted to say thank you as well. I started my career in 2009, and when I first started, I had my book launch with you at Dar Al-Funoon, and it was such a wonderful experience, and the space is so unique, but you made it a home to many of us, and that's something that will never be forgotten. So thank you.
Well, you're welcome. I will not forget any of the activities that we all did, that you all participated. It has been a great, great pleasure to work with all of you, to work with the artists, as well as to feel the encouragement of all the patrons that are here tonight. Thank you so much. You have made my life a beautiful life.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to thank you on behalf of Nuqat and everybody in the audience for accepting the invitation tonight. It's been an honor. Fareed, also, thank you very much for accepting to have a conversation with Lucy as well. It's been a pleasure. Today is the last Monday of Monday Talks at JAC. So we are honored as well to be the institution that kind of concludes that in the presence of both of you. Thank you all for coming too. I want to ask you where the book is, the one that you're writing your thoughts on. Okay, so if you want to keep on doing that, let's do that, but please let it end with me so we can give it to Lucy as a commemoration of our thanks to her. Thank you once again. Thank you all, and have a nice evening.
Thank you.